courthouse and get released. No matter what the terms are, it's unfathomable. It does not happen. It cannot happen. So please, all of you, remember this. When this happens, you were a part of this, making sure that people do not get bail when they're predators.
Disrupt America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. So this is a bit of a brief update to a story that we covered previously about a 25-year-old that broke into a home in Welland, Ontario, and assaulted a 3-year-old girl. So, as Toronto Crime Watch, we showed this before, but I just want to highlight again. Daniel Siegel, the registered blank offender, you can't even say the words because of YouTube, who was recently charged with violent assault on a 3-year-old girl in Welland, will have bail hearing September 10th at 11 a.m. at St. Catharines Courthouse. He is currently being held in segregation at the Niagara Detention Center, has been requested a transfer to the Vanier Center for Women if he doesn't get bail under the guise of he is transgender. How kind of convenient that is. Now, I can't, put my foot down and say that, this was just good that he decided to make himself transgender as he was being arrested, or maybe if it was before. I can't vouch on that, but it's kind of convenient that they mentioned this as he's being arrested. The Vanier Center for Women is a female-only correctional and remand facility. A protest will be taking place Wednesday, September 10th at 9 a.m. at the St. Catharines Courthouse, 59 Church Street, St. Catharines, Ontario. So we covered this story and the people that are protesting outside Welland City Hall that are, obviously devastated, that they're frustrated with the amount of crime that is increasing constantly in this country, specifically in Ontario, that Premier Doug Ford just completely ignores, or even if he does bring it up, he goes into, just goes to the PR tactic of someone should do something about it. But he's the premier and he could do something about it and refuses to do so. Same with the federal government, and it's just causing a muck everywhere in between. So they were announcing that there was a protest being taken place on Wednesday here from 610 CKTB. Says crowds gather in front of the St. Catharines Courthouse protesting for stricter bail conditions and harsher sentences for violent offenders as suspect in Welland toddler blank assault is set to appear. So people showed up to this rally. A lot of people showed up to this rally. You can see there's some of the pictures there. Some people holding posters, serve justice so we don't have to. Stronger laws, protect the public, reform our legal justice system. I like the one on the corner there to get out of the free jail cards. But it says go directly to jail. Sorry, I thought that was the get out of free jail card. I was like, wait a second. No, that's the put them in jail. So a lot of people showed up to this, and a lot of people are frustrated. And we showed how one individual by the name of Rob Primo, who made a statement at Welland City Hall protesting against, the just lack of justice there is in this country and lack of justice within the Ontario court system. And it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. It was emotional, but it's also motivational because when I heard his voice, when I heard his passion, when I heard his anger and frustration, as a Canadian, it gives me a bit of hope. It gives me a bit of hope and maybe just some encouragement to realize that we're not the only ones, that there's many more people that feel this frustration, that just feel like they're trapped in this situation and they want to do better. They want to actually change things for the good. And we can unite on that. We can build upon that and really change things for the better. So luckily people feel the same way and are doing this. So here, Reality Docu posted this video. It says St. Catharines Courthouse protests against the Welland child abuser. And here he is going to tell you why they're protesting and why they're so frustrated at the justice system.
And we were one vote short, and I know that we can rectify that situation. You know, it's the day I've been waiting for.
So that was just a short clip there. We'll play it again.
And we were one vote short, and I know that we can rectify that situation.
So they said that they're one vote short of actually trying to convict this guy and reform the justice system. They were one vote short. I wonder who that specific one person that did not partake in this. I can't say who it is. We don't have that information, but kind of interesting. One vote short that could have made a bit of a difference. So here, Toronto Crime Watch, this is the mayor of Welland. So now city officials are finally coming out, which is good to see. They should have came out when, Rob Primo was speaking. That would have been more encouragement to see. But now they're finally speaking out. So the mayor of Welland, Frank Campion, addresses the crowd outside the St. Catharines Courthouse ahead of a serial blank predator, Daniel Segal's bail hearing. Mayor Frank Campion calls for no bails, a public registry for all blank offenders, and stronger sentences. Now, I'm sure the mainstream media and the federal government are going to look at this guy and say that he's a crazy, deranged right-winger, that he's racist or he's transphobic, or they try to smear him as something. But this is a mayor of a city that I'm very familiar with Welland. I have deep connections with the community because I went to school there. I went to college in Welland, and I adore the town. It's very quaint. It's very quiet. But now with more stories like this, can you even say quaint towns are, beautiful and majestic in Canada? Can you really say that with crime as it is? So he's speaking out about this, and let's hear what he has to say. It also says, "Are you paying attention, Sean Fraser?" So that's the Minister of Justice and Safety, Minister of Justice and Attorney General. So this is the guy, Sean Fraser, who was the housing minister under Justin Trudeau and completely failed that job. And you would think that if you failed a position in government that you wouldn't be coming back to government in another job position, but they just transferred him. So now he's the Minister of Justice, he's the Attorney General, and he's failing at this job. So you would think Sean Fraser would be kicked out. There'd be a non-confidence vote to kick out Sean Fraser for being an absolute buffoon and a failure at his job to protect Canadian citizens. And so let's hear what the mayor had to say about this.
Hey, old man, you all right up there? I got back east. What I wanted to say was thank you all for being a part of our community. When I talk about community, I'm talking about human beings that stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves, people that need protection, people that are having difficulty. So appreciate it all, and I would ask you to please give yourselves a round of applause because you are going to make a difference here today. And what I expect from the courts today is going to be representative of how we move forward, which is why we're here. No bail. No bail. It's not right. You cannot have predators come into a courthouse and get released. No matter what the terms are, it's unfathomable. It does not happen. It cannot happen. So please, all of you, remember this. When this happens, you were a part of this. making sure that people do not get bail when they're predators. So thank you all for that. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and I do want to Stephen Seuss is probably still here. Yeah, we have our differences, but we also have our things that we have in common.
That's right.
And one of those things, which he mentioned, was the registry. Everybody has to be fighting to make sure that we know who and where people are in our community. We are dangerous to our most vulnerable people, to all people. So that's the other objective we need to get. And finally, I want to say that we're all here for the other same reason, which is to make sure when somebody gets sentenced, it's a severe sentence, and there is no compromise on that sentence. You get sentenced, you stay in jail, you stay there fully, and then when you get out, everybody knows where you are. So we need to make sure that happens. So I thank you, and Mr. Grebo, I would be happy to have you come and talk to you at City Hall whenever you have the opportunity. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
you.
I mean, the sad part, that's a great statement. I'm not discouraging it, but the sad part is the fact that we're doing this for a serial offender. The fact that this has to be said, a common sense statement that, hey, this guy should not get bail. If he's a serial repeater, we should not be throwing him back into society and continuing on his criminal behavior. Like, it's amazing that this has to be a debate when clearly this should be the only viable option. That this individual, I don't care if he's transgender, I don't care his immigration status. It's supposed to be that justice is blind. You're supposed to be blinded by the characteristics or the appearance of anybody. I don't care what their background is. I don't care what their religion is. I don't care where they come from. I don't care their political views. I don't care about that. You commit a crime, we focus on that crime. And considering this individual, this 25-year-old, has involved in multiple offenses of child exploitation. And now with a 3-year-old girl, who's still in the hospital because they have to have reconstructed surgery. Like, why is this a debate? Why is this a debate? Why do we have to go through these constant reiterations? And Doug Ford, Sean Fraser, Mark Carney, the police chiefs completely fail us. I mean, look at the York Regional Police Chief. He's telling you that if an intruder goes in and breaks in your home, do nothing. Do nothing. Because if you actually do fight back, if you actually have the animal instinct in you and the human instinct of self-defense, you're going to be criminally charged. So, why is this up for an argument? Why is this constantly an argument on what we should do to stop this? We should obviously, if he's a repeated offender, put him into a prison. Like, it's that simple. It really is that simple. Crime is running amok, ladies and gentlemen. And we could talk about all the different reasons why crime is running amok. There's a lot of different things that go into, people in situations. Poverty plays a big role into, mass amounts of criminal activity. Why, a lot of impoverished areas and impoverished neighborhoods, they, get the worst hit in criminal activity. You can go into that, but the simple matter is this man is a child blank offender. He assaulted multiple children. He has multiple criminal convictions. He's 25-year-old transgender. How convenient they immediately calls that out. And they're deciding whether or not to give him bail again. How do you think that's going to help prevent crime? Like, you're giving the criminals a way out. But yet, well, we're willing to lock up Tamara Leach and Chris Barber for organizing a protest, for organizing a demonstration that brought Canadians together. Because, you know, God forbid, bouncy houses and cotton candy machines and singing Kumbaya, no Canada. That's so distressful for neighborhoods. But, you know, a multiple child offender is allowed to be lurking in your neighborhoods. They're allowed to continue to grope your kids in society. Why is that even up for question? Why is that even a debate? Like, it should be said and done. This man, this 25-year-old, should be sentenced away. Period. And everything that the mayor stated. There should be no bail for him. He's a multiple offender. There's no bail for him. We should have a registry so that if the court system decides he should be returned back in society, that people know about this monster. And we need to completely reform our criminal justice system. We need to completely reform to make sure that we actually have appropriate justice so that we can actually feel safer as a society. Because right now, Canadians are not feeling safe. And concerning the fact that they can't self-defend themselves, and we're not allowed to have, we're not allowed to have the guns, and we're also not allowed to self-defend ourselves. So, what is there left? What is there left? Am I just supposed to allowed to be a victim? Am I supposed to just let a home intruder disrupt my life? Am I supposed to just let an assault monster just attack me? Because what else is there left? What else is there left? And he went after a 3-year-old girl. 3-year-old girl. I don't even know why. I don't even know why people would make arguments not to support this. This man should be locked away. Done.